Yo, what's up everybody? It's Dean, aka Razzy from Filthee Feet. Here with another Filthee tutorial. Today I wanted to revisit an old video, but now that I'm doing things where I'm talking more directly to you and I can break things down a little better, I wanted to kind of redo it. And it's basically talking about the sixth step, one of the most fundamental steps that everyone learns at the beginning, but also one of the most interesting patterns for me that, you know, maybe it's because I learned it first, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of potential in how you can rework it, and just a lot of people don't think about it really deeply. They just think about sixth step. It's this pattern, and that's the sixth step. So really what I want to get at is sixth step is exactly that. 6 separate steps. So we have sixth step, the pattern, which some people think of as like a move in itself. So I'll just show it to you, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have it the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, but when you really start to break it down, it is 6 separate steps, right? So we have that first step, which is this 1, but that's also a hook, right? So then we have here, which is kind of like, if anyone's ever done shuffles, you know, you have like kick out and you shuffle your feet kind of thing there. That's that same position, boom. And then we have here, which is just like a back position, push-up position, but this is where you get, shift the other way, boom, boom. These little shuffles and things like that. That all starts from this position. And then you have it on the other side, right? Boom. That shuffles on the other side, starting in a different way. Instead of going back, it's going forward, right? Here, and then you have here, and that's that same hook, just getting into it in a different way. So, yeah, if you look at it that way, you have 6 different steps. And this is the kind of thing, like, we learn a lot of patterns, or a lot of people do combos, right? And they build these little combos, and those are great because what that does is it groups stuff together. And so your brain doesn't have to work as hard to remember everything. It's the same kind of thing as an example, like the year 2020. You don't have to remember 20,000, well, that's a bad example. Let's say it was like 21, 25 or something like that. You're literally remembering 2 numbers, 21 and 25. But if you break that down individually into like 2,125, you're kind of separating that into more stuff to remember. But if you just go 2025 or whatever, 2020, that's just 2 numbers. So it's grouping things together. Another example, I don't know if anybody plays fighting games, but combos, like especially Marvel or whatever you play. Like, you have those individual moves, punch, kick, hard punch, roundhouse, all these things, right? And when you do combos, you might, if you look at the screen, there's a whole bunch of crap, and it's like light, medium, hard, jump, something, something, something. And if you really want to learn those things, what you have to start doing is grouping sections together. So you'll have the ground part, light, medium, hard, launcher, and you do something, and then you jump. That's one group movement, and you combine it together. And so that makes things, these long sequences, a lot easier to remember because you're grouping things. It's the same thing with words. If you had to read every individual letter and figure out the sound, that would take you forever to read. But once you start to get to know these things, you recognize group moves and the beginning and the end, which is what your brain does when it reads words. The middle can be just jumbled around, it just recognizes the ends. And it recognizes that as a whole word, and you just start reading words and words and words. And then bigger than that, you start combining like sentence, like phrases and things like that. And so that's like how our brain works, is it groups stuff together to make things easier to remember, easier to recall, so that you don't always have to start from scratch. So long story short, that's why the 6-step is useful, or something like one of my combos, let's say this sneaky step that I do, boom, 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 boom. I don't have to remember every step. All I have to do is remember, get into this. That's it. And then because I practice the rest of it so much, I just have to remember one move and the rest flows out. So it's the same thing with a 6-step, right? Once you have it down, all you have to do to start that sequence going is this. But if you can recognize that it's 6 different steps, you can start it from any position. So you could be doing something, you're shuffling, whatever, like this, and then you just go right into it. Or for whatever reason, you're doing this kind of stuff and you're kind of playing around with different moves, and then boom, you can just go right into it from any point. Yeah, and you can exit it from any point. You can break up that pattern. So, you know, especially maybe for beginners, they think they have to do the whole sequence. If they're gonna do a 6-step, they're gonna do the whole 6 steps, right? Boom, 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 and then I can go into CCs. But that doesn't have to be the case. You can do boom, CC. You can go boom, boom. What did I do? Boom, 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 CC, or something like that, right? Boom, boom, CC. And you can start breaking things up. You can go in and out of the pattern, right? You can go here, 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 whatever. You do something, right? And if you know that pattern so well, you can recognize times when you can go back into it, when you're just flowing around. I end up here. Oh yeah, I can start the 6-step there. I do a knee drop. Oh, hey, look at this. I can go this way into the 6-step, or from that knee drop, I can go back into the 6-step, right? It's recognizing like these individual positions and then familiarizing yourself with those different positions and being able to recognize them. So that's the main thing, is like basically understand that group like combos and stuff, patterns, they have their purpose and they're really useful for memory retention and for building cool ideas and that kind of stuff, like really getting deep, taking your time, developing it in practice, and then when you go into a battle or a circle, you can do this thing and it's just like this crazy thing that you've built and you've taken time to really construct, but all you have to do is remember one move. So for example, I have this combo. Boom, boom, well, how am I gonna do it? Boom, boom. I can't remember it. Boom, 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 up, boom, right? So that whole combo. All I have to remember, took me a while because I haven't done it in a while, so it's not fresh in my memory, but you saw how quickly it came back and then the rest just flowed out. Once I got that, then the rest of the sequence just flowed out, right? So all I have to do is think of that drop and then the rest of the combo comes out. And then while I'm doing stuff, maybe all I think about is a CC, like that, and then the rest of the combo comes out. Boom. Boom. Right? And then I keep going, and then I would have a finisher, which is whatever, right? But you get the idea. So this is the advantage of like combos. I guess the last thing that I really want to touch on with this is like they're useful, but they can be they can also kind of hurt you in that if you're too reliant on combos, you're gonna lock yourself into a path that, sorry, I gotta catch my breath. You're gonna lock yourself into a path that might not make sense anymore because music changes, environments change, someone does something, and if you're not able to adapt and shift on the fly, like, then that combo, they might expose you. They might like jump over you or something like that, and you're still doing something and no one's even paying attention anymore. So, you know, combos are great for like retention and memory and you know, structuring stuff, right? You can build these like peaks and valleys, highs and lows, contrasts and stuff, because you can construct these really crazy ideas that you've really spent a lot of time on. And then freestyle is just kind of like whatever, right? It's things coming up. So it'll be like kind of these peaks and valleys and whatever. And the combos are really good for that. But you know, yeah, you can go too far and have things go too long, and then, you know, some people will start to see that you're not connected with the music, and you can see that you're being kind of mechanical with your movement, and you're just going through a set of movements. And that's when you see these people going like, yeah, this guy's right, he's a planner, he wrote all those moves. Everyone does that. It's just some people do it longer than others. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And what I would say is learn these things and really internalize them, right? And then once you've really internalized them, and maybe even like when you start to get bored with them, like you've been doing it for so long, go back to it and start to like break it down and see like, do I have to keep going from here? Where is like the smallest amount of this little combo that I do? So for example, I have a combo that's based off from CC into, you know, I'll just show you. So, and I probably showed you this before. Boom, 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 and then boom, 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 and then I would roll through into a freeze. I don't want to do it because I'll probably hit the camera. Right? So that's like a whole sequence, right? And I've been doing that. It's probably one of my oldest combos that I do. And what I realize is like, you can start breaking that, just like the 6-step. You recognize certain points, and then you can start to throw them in different places. So I might do this, and then that's it, and then go into something else. Or if I'm messing around and I end up in this position, if I have that awareness, that recognition of this position, I can go here and then boom, into that, whatever, that was kind of garbage. But you get the idea, right? And then from there, like, I don't have to go into this whole thing again. Like at the end, what is it? I would go here, and then these sweeps, and then I would roll through. But what I can do is if I'm ever here, I can just go through right there. I don't have to go through the whole thing. So you start looking at these longer combos and start to chop them into smaller pieces, but still be able to piece them together. So it's like recognition that all of these combos that you come up with, remember that they're made up of individual moves. And so if you can remember those, it's like that's a whole position, that's a new position, that's a new position. This little combination leads to this, and if I can remember like that spot, whenever I find it in my freestyle, it can just come up as long as you practice it enough, right? So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to get at, is it's kind of this idea of structured versus unstructured and the usefulness of that. And you know, to sum up, combos are great. They help you remember stuff. They help you build stories within your dance, highs and lows, contrasts, stuff like that. And it helps you really allow some deep thought and deep idea to happen in the moment, even though you're not coming up with it on the spot, because you've spent all that time developing this little combo. Number one. Number two is they can be a crutch too, that you can rely on it too much and you lose that connection with the moment, with the music, and it can take you in a place that you shouldn't even be going anymore because things have changed, the situation has changed, a lot of things, because breaking itself is done in the moment, right? So you can be a planner, but you have to be aware of what's happening too at that moment in that place as well. So you can't be 100% planner. You gotta have some kind of balance, right? And the last part, number 3, is recognizing that these combos are made up of individual parts. So even though it's useful to think of a combo as like one whole move, just like someone might think of a CC or something like that, you think of a whole move. Being able to like recognize that it's made up of smaller steps and being able to use those in different places and it just opens up your freedom and your movement and awareness. When you're freestyling, like you'll recognize different situations, like, oh, this is that part of this combo, or this is this, right? So just be aware of that. So I kind of rambled there, but hopefully you guys all got something useful out of this, and let me know if it was useful and what you guys think about sets and freestyle and the usefulness and whatever. Leave a comment, let me know. All right, peace.